And we're live. I always look like I'm so surprised that we just went live, even though I touched the button that said we're going live, right? So, all right, it's that time again. Tribe Talking on a Tuesday with Maryam. And today I have with me Dee. Hey girl.
Hello. Hey,
Right. Hey girl. Checking in with us from Playa del Carmen. Am I saying it right? Right? Is that where you're at, right?
Perfect. Playa del Carmen, Mexico.
Playa del Carmen, Mexico. And you live there now, huh?
Yes.
You live
yes,
there.
I do. And surprise. So I chose today for us to talk because it's like my 1 year anniversary of living here. Like today.
You could have told me that before the show. I could have really, sliced that or whatever. But I appreciate it. Okay, it'll go in the post-show notes. All right, that's cute. All right, so I met Dee. Would have been 2016 because I met you when I opened my shop. Mm-hmm. Dee was one of the brilliant people who was smart enough to take use of the den while she was growing and expanding, and grew up and out of that space into another space and has continuously grown and is really, really amazing. From yoga to being an educator to, now being an advocate for expatriates and so on and so on. The list is so long. What I'm going to do and how we start every show is, hey, y'all, check in. Tell us hello. Oh, Mo Better Dan says hi, Dee.
Sorry.
So what we're going to do, how we start is you give us a 30-second commercial, the who's it's, the what's it's it galore, about who you are, where you are, and what you do. And then we'll go off from there.
Whew, okay. Peace, everyone. My name is Dee. I'm a school psychologist, but I'm transitioning into a full-time entrepreneur. People know me as a yogi. I'm a new Reiki practitioner, healing artist. Kind of sums up all the things that I do because it just keeps growing and growing. Because now herbs will be added to what I do and all the things. So, in short, everything I do is for me and for Black people.
Hey,
Me moving.
That means it's for me.
Absolutely. Everything I do is for probably everybody who's watching for the most part, but that's the short version. I'm here for wellness, self-care, self-liberation, and self-exploration, and all the things. I want us to be whole and thriving.
Nice. So we're going to talk about your journey a little bit.
Cool.
You started as an educator, right? As a teacher's assistant?
Yes.
And then you moved into being a school psychologist. Talk about that. What was that work like?
Absolutely. So in 2010, that's when I moved to DC, started Howard, and I was working for DC.
I'm sorry, y'all know. Let me pause for just a second because I want you to say what you're saying.
Yeah.
I live in New Orleans, yeah, and so we're displaced in Texas right now, and my son and I are sharing a suite. So if you hear the 7-year-old forget that his mommy is on show, pay it because it's gonna happen. Let it be. But we're gonna try to move through it. And he's gonna try his best not to, huh? No. All right. So if you could start again and give it to us. So I want to make sure everybody hears what you were saying.
Absolutely. So in 2010 is when I moved to DC. I started at Howard to do my master's in school psychology. And I got a position as a teacher's assistant for a special ed classroom in DC, which was cool. So I did that while I was getting my degree. And then I transitioned into being a school psychologist after graduation started. So I moved. Where did I move to, Maryam? I left DC and I moved to Chicago. I had to think. I moved so much. I went to Chicago to do my internship. So I did a year in Chicago, then I went to North Carolina, did my first year as a school psychologist there, and then I made my way back to the DMV. And when I got back to the DMV, I thought I was moving to like Maryland, back where I lived before. I ended up moving to Virginia, and that's kind of how I got to my path of yoga teacher training, because there was a Black-owned studio like literally around the corner from where I ended up living.
But let's slow down. We're moving into the next phase. Okay, go ahead.
This is at yoga and yoga teacher training and how I got involved with yoga and wellness and all those things.
But I don't want to leave the classroom just yet. I'm interested in. Yeah, so I want to kind of follow, because I know that you're still into yoga, and you're doing, and I want to get into how you're doing the community yoga and all of that. But I'm interested in what your experience was, especially in DC as a school psychologist, and if you were, like what that was like and how that may have influenced you to continue going further into your wellness practices.
Got it. So being a school psychologist in DC schools or Chicago's public schools, wherever, any city, name one, it's about all the same. It's a lot of nonsense. Is the word that I can use. And it was hard. My preface is I love the babies. I love Black people. I love the babies. I miss the babies, but I'm so happy to be taken a step away.
What did you find as far as like the schools? Because you were in DC public schools, and you were in both places, in Chicago and DC. You were in public school systems.
Yes, with some experience in charter school systems as well.
Okay. So what was like as a Black school psychologist, and I'm assuming they were predominantly Black spaces, predominantly Black students, like the population of students was probably. Did you feel like you had like the support to actually help the young people, or was that something that was a challenge for you?
It was a challenge because what I knew to be helpful for these young people was not necessarily what my role required. So let me explain what a school psychologist kind of does, and it's like a long-winded answer. But
please give it to us, because I'm sure I don't know.
Yeah, there's plenty of people who don't know what a school psychologist is. Usually when I say I'm a school psychologist, I get looped right in with an educator, like a teacher, which is not the truth. I'm not a teacher. Or I get looped in with like a counselor or a social worker. The fun thing is school psychologists can do many things. We know a lot. We know a little bit about a lot. Let me say it that way. We know a little bit about a lot. Our main purpose, especially for school systems, is to identify students in need or not of special education services to determine if there's a disability and how to best help this student learn. That's like the primary use, but there's so many more. We can do counseling, therapy, group sessions, one-on-one sessions, behavior plans, and all the things. We don't just support we don't just support special education students. We can also support general ed students as well, with certain suggestions on to how to help them learn.
So what was lacking then? Because you said that what was needed for the young people was not within the scope of your work, but it sounds like the scope of your work was pretty broad.
Right. So the scope of my work, really, really broad, and like not enough time in a day to even really efficiently give. And that's just across the board. That's not just me personally. Our children needed love, and that wasn't heard. That was not heard. They needed nice, kind people to be in their space before they needed like a teacher, in the way that teachers are here to teach.
Yeah.
They needed connection. You know what I mean? They needed love, and they needed to be heard, and they needed space, and they needed naps, and they needed to be able to eat their breakfast, for more than 5 minutes. You know what I mean? Like they just needed so much.
Yeah, they needed care. Yeah.
They were not given those things. So I found myself frustrated because I'm like, y'all not listening to me. I'm the only person in this building that can tell you these things. This is still a part of my job to tell you that. Kindness makes a big difference in how test scores are going to be improved. No one wants to hear that.
Yeah.
They don't want to hear it. So
now when you how did you take care of yourself in that space? Did that lead you to, I know you said you found this Black-owned yoga, you were starting to tell us about finding this Black-owned yogi space or yoga space. Was that something that you jumped into to sustain your own mental health in the school system, or was it just something that you found interest in? How did that work out?
Got it. So the story I started telling about, I found yoga in Virginia. I found it for a training studio.
Okay.
I had already started my yoga journey the year before in North Carolina, and that was random. But it came at a time where I needed to save, my life. It was depression. It was all these things, and I didn't know what to do. And yoga walked into my life at the perfect time. So when I got to Virginia in my first year working in DCPS as a school psychologist, it became, I'm at this studio. I need to become a teacher because this tool worked miracles for me. It can do the same for Black people. You know what I mean? Black people that's in my space, the Black babies that I'm a see during school day, whatever.
And so were you able to ever incorporate it into your school work? I mean, the work in the school?
I was, and it was like something aside from the role I was hired for, right? You know what I mean? So it was like I made time in my day. Some teachers were open to it for me to host yoga in their classrooms, and it was amazing. I got to teach. My first class was a group of first graders, and it was amazing. They had a lovely time. We did some worksheets, like we did all the things. At some point, I had a third grader assisting me teaching the first grade on the south side of DC. I taught yoga to the parents. I offer yoga to the staff after work. Some of our PDs, we started incorporating like wellness, self-care just for the teachers. I would do mindfulness, and they appreciate it. They joined us. So I was like, this is all I wanted to do. Exposure makes a big difference. So to say like, hey y'all, here it is.
Yeah.
It's up to you to do whatever. And there's been benefit. The parents came back, said, can we do it again? Can we?
I love it.
Amazing.
So now you're doing it full time. Now you've been a yogi for a while. You've been an instructor for a while, and now you've created this brand, Indefinitely Dee Wellness. Let's talk about that. Tell me about Indefinitely Dee Wellness.
Yes. So Indefinitely Dee Wellness. Before we were talking about my name, Dee, it's important for me to bring that up because I realized, I want to be called Dee now. And the indefinitely part was specific because it's like, I am always evolving. We are always evolving, but I'm conscious that I'm always going to change. So right now I'm Dee indefinitely. Like that's the name I chose for myself. It's reasons behind why I decided to change my name. So Indefinitely Dee was, the first part of my name. And then I was like, remember, I was like, what am I going to change? You was like, keep your name in it. I'm like, okay, so Dee stays. I like Indefinitely Dee.
Well, that was the business name question. It wasn't, I didn't have anything to do with name change.
No,
I
exactly.
take credit for the wrong thing. I don't want people to think I helped you go through that.
Very true, right? Thanks for clarifying. I forget it's not just you and I. People
we're not just sitting here on a call.
Right.
What happened? She was Dee was trying to figure out what she was going to name her business, and I was saying to keep her name in it. I think that sometimes, especially when you're covering a bunch of different roles, like she's got yoga, now she's doing herbs, she's got her waist piece, she's got all these things that are wellness pieces, but they're different streams of income into this one business. And you don't want to get caught up in trying to like figure out how to, give it all, put it all in there, make it all Indefinitely Dee Wellness.
Period.
Right now it might be waist beads. Next week it might be, teas or whatever, but it's still going to be wellness and it's going to still be by Dee.
And that's basically it. So
I have the tag, girl. That's the tagline. That might be one you got to put in a post. Hell.
Thank you. So that's Indefinitely Dee Wellness because I know like wellness is my passion, helping Black folks, helping myself, self-care, self-love, calling in the ancestral medicine.
Yeah.
All of that is wellness to me. So that's where Indefinitely Dee Wellness came from.
Now I've heard you call yourself a healer a couple of times. So I've read it in how you explain yourself and who you are to the world. As someone who has rejected the term healer for many, many years, I'm interested in when you decided that that's how you, I'm sorry, I know you're not about to bounce that ball. You playing with me. Come here. Come be on the show. You want to be on the show so bad.
You know, Josiah's a part of that.
You know, I can have a co-star. I can share the stage with my baby. My baby know how to put on a show. He can put on a conversation.
Absolutely.
But yeah. So
I hear you. No, it's okay. I heard your question. I'm going to answer it. So I'm glad you said that, because I agree. I struggled with like healer. You know what I mean? I also struggle with the word empath. I believe I've been trying to portray myself as a healing artist, because I see the work that I do as creative art, just healing modalities. So if anything, I'm trying to say I'm a healing artist, not necessarily just a healer. For instance, like the waist beads that I make, you know, that's to me creativity. Also these teas that I'm making, it's creativity. The yoga classes is creativity. It's art still, but it heals.
Yeah, because I loved the way that you ran your classes, especially in the den, where you know, it was always something very sensory around it, whether it was what you were doing with the lights and the lighting, or the soundscapes, or didn't you do like an R&B series?
Yeah.
You know, like I had not seen that before in regards to yoga and the way people use yoga or help people with yoga. So I thought that was very creative. So yeah, I see what you're saying I see what you're saying with that. Do you still incorporate things like that, like thematic stuff, when you're doing like the community yoga series?
Sometimes I will say, like, I used to be into my playlist making like really heavy. And I just haven't had the capacity for it. So like I still have those playlists, and I do want to bring back and yoga. That's what one of them was called, like and yoga, whatever artist and yoga. So I would love to. I recognize that even early on, like when I first started teaching yoga, I told my bestie, I was like, look, like, don't let me become like gimmicky, because that's not who I am. You know what I mean? And it was like, once I started teaching yoga, I also had to become like this graphic designer that I don't want to be. You know what I mean? And I still struggle with that. And after over some years, I was like, okay, that's not your artistry, and it's okay.
Yeah, you can always outsource the things that you don't do.
Yeah, the things you learn along the way, but like
you can always outsource those things. And I'm saying this to anybody watching, like, once you learn, as someone who tried to do all the things all the time for a very long time, because I was like, I can't afford it, or whatever, or you want to pay people what they're worth and things like that. You make more money. You make more money when you start outsourcing. I promise.
I believe it, because
you know, Fiverr.com. I mean, is it Fiverr.com? Yeah, Fiverr.com. You know, places like that. Like, I mean, you can put $25 up and get a really nice a really decent flyer made, and use that thing. You know what I mean? Or get a template made or whatever. Sometimes it really is not expensive to outsource, but your quality is going to be amped up, and that's going to impact your business in a way that's really, really necessary. So I just wanted to put that out there, put that bug out there.
No, for real, because I wish someone told me earlier. You know what I mean?
Same.
I am now catching up on like to-do lists from years ago for my entrepreneur endeavors, just because like it really drained me. It really kind of took back. So you asked me a question of like, did I start yoga to like kind of help me maintain my own self-care with working in the school system? No, that's not why I technically started. But I realized once I stopped taking my yoga classes, I had a hard time maintaining my self-care.
In those spaces, yeah.
Yeah, and that's probably a lot of the reasons why I'm sitting here in Mexico, because like I gave.
Yeah. And I remember, I can't remember, you posted something, and I was like, let me inbox her, because I don't know what that meant. What is she talking about? And that's when I found out that you were moving to Mexico, and I was like, Mexico. I mean, that's lit. Like, to me, that's really cool. I like Mexico. Yeah. I don't know if I would ever move to Mexico, and I'm also not one of those people that's like, I can't wait to move to the continent. If I had to go somewhere, I'd probably go to like Jamaica or, you know, something like that. But how did you choose Playa del Carmen? Why did you choose it? And, you know, like, what was the thing that was like, Mexico, I'm going to go do Mexico? So,
I started therapy maybe in 2018.
Good for you.
Yes, and I'm grateful that I started therapy. Go to therapy if you need therapy.
Go to therapy. Can we say 1, 2, 3? Go to therapy.
Therapy.blackgirls.com. You know what I mean? Just find you a therapist. Try it. Try it. The worst that can happen is you just didn't like it, and you just try it again. Try a different person.
Yeah.
But go to therapy. Absolutely.
Oh wait, Natasha, is it
Nastasia?
Nastasia says, tell her to put that on a shirt.
Okay.
That's right, because she owns a t-shirt company. Put it on a shirt. It should be like a whole graphic of somebody screaming though, like. Oh.
I can do it. Yes. I can do it. I need to hire somebody to design that for me. No worries.
Yes, but that's the idea. And don't nobody take it. That's for Dee.
Y'all, it's already hard enough out here for Black anybody. Don't take my stuff.
We have a question. Yes. This is actually my mother, Johnny Talley, who also told me to leave her baby alone. Your grandson was about to start bouncing the ball, knowing I'm sitting here looking at me have this conversation. But she says, do you recommend yoga for someone that can't sleep at night and may be depressed?
Whoa, absolutely. Absolutely. One of my recent, and my cousin Nastasia, the one that messaged, she reads my newsletters, and I was just writing about yoga nidra as a practice. It's something that I offer, it's something that I love. It's hard for me to get Black people into it, but I'm here. I'm gonna keep working because it's one of those things where it totally, people leave my yoga classes ready to go to sleep. So my yoga classes will help sleep,
relaxation.
Relaxation. I've also been told I just have a voice that people just want to take home to help them calm down.
It does. You find your center pitch in that room very well. Like
it's my favorite space.
Yeah.
To answer the question, yes, I highly recommend yoga. There's many different types of yoga, so maybe a yin yoga class. I can talk to Mama more offline for sure. Like, short answer, yes. For depression, yes. For many things, yes.
And I would say I don't practice yoga. I've tried. I've tried a bunch of different forms. I've tried with a bunch of different teachers. Michelle says you do have a soothing voice. I've tried, but what I have found is that I just do not actually, and I just don't like it, right? And that's fine. Yep. But what I learned when I was doing yoga. What I learned when I was doing yoga is that I needed to revisit the stretching.
Okay.
That part of moving my body, because when I was in conservatory or when I was studying theater, that was something that we did a lot. And I think that I think that the school, because they mandated that we took yoga. I think we did yoga at the top of every class almost. Wow. I think that kind of traumatized me a little bit.
Okay.
And so trying it again after I left school, I couldn't get into it. But I did start going and like participating in things that allowed me to move my body in a way that I felt like I was gaining still some of the things that I was hoping to get from yoga. I say that to say, if anybody has not figured it out, you should look to find out from Dee the many different forms that she was just talking about. And then if you still can't find your niche, the next question you should ask her is, well, can you give me something else? Because I'm pretty sure am I offering a service you don't get? Because I'm about to tell these people you can give them an alternative.
I probably can. I really just need to talk to them.
Yeah. Because that's what I needed.
And understanding what people need. After talking for a little bit, I'm like, okay, I got it. I understand what you need. And if not, I'm like, let's try this. And if it doesn't, let's fine tune it and tweak it. You know what I mean? That's
yeah. I mean, I do assisted stretch. And that's been a big thing for me. I don't know if I told you this, but I was diagnosed recently with thyroid disease, and then I'm also premature menopausal, and I got sciatica, and I'm a spring chicken young. So it don't make no sense that I got all this going on. But the assisted stretch, like I think if my body was capable of, if my mind would allow my body to be capable of fully engaging in yoga, it probably would have helped me not to get to this place. Does that make sense?
Understood.
Right.
And I'm happy you brought up the point of your mind, because that's what blocks a lot of people. And it's understandable. It's not a bad thing. It just is what it is. The mind. Yeah. Somebody will tell their body that they can't do. And that might not be true. And I'm not here to say that all bodies do the same things, because they don't. And I know that. However, sometimes it's just us up in here saying, I can't, my body, there was a class I taught. It was a signature class at the studio. My body can't bend that way. And people was like, yes, I need that class. Like, my body can't. And I appreciated the sister for making this class, because it's like, it's just a true feeling. But in that class, we're just stretching for the most part. Yeah. It's like, take a deep breath in, exhale, go a little bit deeper into your stretch. And there really is growth just in that, so. Yeah. And I love that too. Breathing. Breathing. Like the idea that like I don't think people realize how often, also I'm smiling and get my mother, she said, I've been told I have that voice. I just thought people were trying to say I was boring. She's on one tonight. And then she says it's genetic about the whole mind tricking you into not being able to do things. But the breathing, I think I've literally watched people stop breathing. They'll just be standing there having a conversation with you and just hold their breath. Yeah. And I don't think we realize that we're doing that, especially when you're stressed or you're frustrated or whatever. Like, you just stop breathing. Hold it. And it's almost, and I always just speak from the experience of Black people. Yeah. No. I mean, you should know it's assumed that this is all right, cool. From the experience of Black people. Yeah. Okay, perfect. Because like, I know that we hold our breaths, but we're not just holding our breath. We're holding something. We're holding secrets. We're holding shame. We're holding guilt. We're holding truths. We're holding so much back. Usually, just generally speaking, we're holding more than just our breath. So, but yeah, we don't know. We don't know to engage with our breath that way. But that's why I'm here, and I'm grateful to be here. The comments are dumb right now. Lacey talking about, I do it when people breath ain't right. Lacey, we're not talking to you. He's a musician, so he's accustomed, he's silly. I also hold my breath when people's breath ain't right. I ain't gonna lie. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking but I'm just, no, you don't have to apologize. I'm teasing you. But I find, even in like doing like playback and the constructive work that we do, also our breath elevates, right? So like, I tell people all the time, like when you look at, if you want to see what proper breathing is, imagine a baby laying on the floor. And you know how you see the baby and their belly is lifting and their belly is going up and going down. They're taking these deep belly breaths without even thinking about it. They're just placing their breath in this space. As you get older and there's like pollution in the air and there's stress and there's frustration and there's this and there's this and that, your breath just kind of keeps going up to the point where you're just like, everything is every time you breathe in, it's just your chest is coming out here. Right. And so I always tell people, if you want to see how well you're doing, if you want to see if you're in alignment with yourself, or if you're activated as your best self in this moment or whatever, put one hand on your chest and one hand on your belly, take a deep breath, and where your breath lives, that can show you how you're feeling. I can tell when I'm taking in too much stress or things are harming me, because I'm like, hold on, let me push it down, let me get into my belly, let me do that. I should be able to do yoga. Do you hear? I'm gonna let you try me out. I'm gonna let you. That message went straight from here to you, because I was like, you know what? Let me just teach you a class, Maryam. I would love to teach you a class. Just try me out. We could do a consultation, everything, so I can like set your vibe for you. And I love to teach slow, movie, stretchy classes. So I'll teach you and Mama a class. My mom says pain. We probably gonna do it together. My mom says pain causes people to hold their breath. True. Lindsay says so true. So easy to forget to breathe deep. Yes. Yeah. So I know I'm not judging y'all when I say we hold our breath. It is just something we have to learn how to activate. There's so much power in deep breaths, aside from I don't know, just aside from so many things, it's one of those things. It's like as necessary as drinking water and exercising, also activating your deep breaths, also sitting to meditate, also trying to stretch or do some yoga. Like when you can.
And when you think and when you think about the world, what's happening around us, like my son is one of the strongest kids I've ever met, right? But he also has a little bit of a debilitation when it comes to his breathing, right? Mm-hmm. And with COVID being like a disease that literally takes a virus that literally takes your breath away, one of my biggest fears was like, if my baby can't breathe, we gonna, like it's a thing. So I've even been watching him. And like, even when he's kind of like processing through his own stress and anxiety and stuff, I see him self-correcting his breathing, which I think is really powerful to watch, because I didn't teach him that. That's something that he has taught himself because he wants to be stronger and he wants to, but like watching him kind of like see where his breath is at and like move it around and pause and take deep breaths and things. But it's easy to get caught up in like the world.
Absolutely.
And to allow it to impress upon your body what it, to trick your body into doing things it's not supposed to do.
Yeah. And it's so many of those things, right? It's not even just like not just breathing correctly. It's so many things.
Yeah. Yes. How you're sitting. All that. Well, you saw me straighten up. It's how you sitting.
Sometimes like right now I'm like comfortably.
Right. I'm chilling. I was like, wait, hold on. I can't be talking all this big shit and I got myself leaned up. Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So do you love Playa del Carmen? I love watching your feed. I'm like, oh, I want to go do that.
I never finished telling y'all how I got to Playa del Carmen.
You didn't tell? Yeah, finish telling us.
So let's go there. And this is my first time really sharing this story, I think. Okay. So I'm excited to share it with you. All right. So therapy. That's where we started.
Yes. Get your therapist.
Do y'all hear how I'm not playing with y'all? Like, go to therapy on you.
We're going to do it again.
Before we end.
Right.
I'm going to do it one more time. All right. So anyway, therapy journey was amazing. And by amazing, I mean, a mess, but in the most beautiful way. Just all
the shadow work be heavy. Ugh. I hope every day, if put in the chat if you don't know what the term shadow work means. We'll break it down after she finishes the story. But yeah.
All right. So therapy. In my therapy, we're talking about whatever, life stuff, childhood stuff, et cetera, but also like, what do you want? What's your future? I was like, I really want to travel. Like, I really want to travel. I've been thinking out my like exit plan for working in the school system for a while. Cause I'm like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. That's been my theme. I don't want to do this. How am I going to get out of it? This is my career. This is what I went to college for. This is I didn't even want to go to college. Like, so now I'm in this career that while I love the babies, I'm actually really great at it. I'm tired. Like, I don't feel like what I have to give, y'all don't want. I can leave.
You can participate in our liberation in a different way.
So, what happened? Where am I? Travel kept coming up in my therapy homework and conversations, travel. And I talked to a friend, Brittany, Brittany. I talked to Brittany and we were like, what am I going to do? Like, am I going to move again? Blah, blah, blah. And she's like, well, I have a friend teaching English in like South Korea. Like, I don't know, look into that. And I'm like, all right, something to do. Like, I'm ready to leave. Like, I just want to be somewhere else. There's a little bit more to the story and it goes into my like just journey of vacation and travel as a child going into adulthood. Like my first flight in life wasn't until undergrad. And then when I started taking trips with friends, it would be like, we would go, somewhere to a resort, for instance. And I'm like, all right, but I want to know what the people are doing. Like what else is happening? You know what I mean? Like what else is going on? There's more. So I took a trip to Thailand in 2016. Went there at the end of the school year. It was the best way to like end the school year and go into my summer break. I took the last week off and just went, stayed for a week and had a lovely time. And I was just really curious. So fast forward to Brittany saying, oh, South Korea, blah, blah, blah. So I do this research about teaching English online, blah, 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 or teaching English in person. And I'm like, Thailand. Like, I've been wanting to go back to Thailand. Long story short, I had a flight and a job offer in Thailand.
Nice.
And my flight was supposed to leave last year in April, but of course, with the pandemic, couldn't go. Just really couldn't go, and was totally unsure and in between jobs, and just so much was happening. Took an impromptu trip to Tulum in July of.
I love Tulum.
What year is this? I've been here so long. The year before, I'm getting my years. It's been such a long time. Took a trip for a couple of days to Tulum because my friend was like, "Look, can we go somewhere? Like, I'm tired. I need a break. Like, this in the house, I need to see the water." Went to Tulum, had a beautiful time. On my way back to Maryland, I'm like,
it was July 2020. Nastasia just told us.
Thank you, Miss Girl. Because dates. Yeah, because I was at her house babysitting her kids, and my friend asked me to, could we go? And I'm like, girl, these unemployment checks, yeah, we can go.
It's going down.
Let's go. It really was that simple, and I'm grateful for how simple it was, because I'm like, yeah, I'm just sitting in the house. Like, so Mexico is open. I've already, started selling my things that were in my house and getting rid of things and unpacking and figuring out where my plant babies are going. And I'm like, you know what? Go back home and finish. Your lease is about to end the right way, so you can leave your apartment the right way and all these things. And Mexico was open. I was headed to Tulum, actually started in Tulum. My first week in Mexico was in Tulum. The Wi-Fi was terrible, literally terrible, and I couldn't.
I think I could imagine that. I don't know if it's a place people go to use the Wi-Fi.
It's a little shaky in Tulum, and
that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think that I wouldn't imagine that I would go to Tulum expecting Wi-Fi.
Yeah, or not like the best Wi-Fi, because but it's not the best. And I'm sad that it's going to get better, because that means more people are about to be displaced. So it's like, I'll leave that for another talk.
Yeah, that's a whole nother conversation.
Absolutely. So Tulum didn't work out for me, and I randomly ended up in Playa del Carmen. So Playa del Carmen chose me. Once I got here,
I love that.
Yeah, it chose me in the most beautiful way. I ended up finding an Airbnb and getting a taxi taking me from Tulum to Playa, and found myself living a block away from the beach.
So is life, right? Like, whatever, I only live a block away from the beach in Playa, it's fine. No, I love that for you. I think that that's really great. So what has that done for your business, though? Has everything had to go online, or are you able to offer services there to the residents in the community there, or what's going on?
Right. So there was a bit of transition. I'm still in transition. The other day, I finally told myself,
no, go ahead.
I was just like, girl, like, you're a yoga teacher. Like, I had to remind myself, because I took a break from teaching before I left the States because of all of the work I was doing. I was just, I can't give you anything right now.
Yeah.
So I started teaching the classes online, and that worked out somewhat. It's a little shaky, getting people to attend to online things and classes. I am now getting ready to teach some classes at the beach, and I'm excited for that. I got Reiki certified while I was here, at least level 1. So I've been dipping my toe in and having some Reiki clients here, and that's been pretty cool.
Yeah, growing your depth.
Yeah, my waist speeds. I was able to restart that, and I'm only doing in-person waist speeds. So if you're here, you can get some waist speeds from me.
So go to Playa, but also not right now. Don't take unless you're. I don't know the rules. Is Playa one of those places where people are like coming and not being kind? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like coming and just deciding they're going to abandon all precautions and. Because I know they did not let you do that in Jamaica. When I just got our last trip I took was to the grill, and they wish you would walk up in here not acting like it was a pandemic in the world, because they were literally spraying you.
So let me be completely honest with everyone. Sometimes it feels like COVID doesn't exist here, and let me explain why. And it's not to say that it doesn't, right? Because it does, of course. But sometimes it just really feels that way. everywhere you go, like they're taking temperatures, they're handing you hand sanitizer, and they have these like disinfectant things for your shoes at the door, like for your feet. So my temperature gets taken like 20 times a day, depending on how much I'm out. Mask wearing is required, especially like indoors. That's still a requirement. A lot of like restaurants here are outdoors, like it's, you know, it's inside, but it's open. It's like open air. A lot of things are open air. We're by the beach, so we get that beautiful air.
That changes things.
Yeah, I believe it does. So, yeah, you know, we're kind of like, it depends. It depends.
But I wasn't talking about necessarily the people who are there. I'm talking about like people, like tourists. You know, like the tourists can often be the problem.
You know what? I think the tourists, well, yeah, because they, you know, people are still going to parties and things like that, and you know, like super spreader events or what have you. But tourists come with other stuff. They come with COVID, but they come with bad attitudes. Like that's what I'm more concerned with. Like,
yeah. Don't get me started on that. I can't stand being beside you. I'm like, are y'all for real gonna be acting like this? A couple of people, at least 3 people, said that they do not know what shadow work is. So I wanted to go back to that. I feel like I'm going to let you lead on answering what that is, and I can tag in.
I like that because you know I appreciate your wisdom and how you like drive it home.
I got you.
And shadow work is a new term for me. I've probably been doing it for forever, but it's a new term. So, shadow work is when we're going into those parts that we don't want to really see, those parts of ourselves or our lineage to figure out why. I went into shadow work because I'm like, why do I do these things? Why do I show up this way? And I really don't care for it. So for me, shadow work is going into that dark, ugly, creepy space of myself to figure out like what's going on or what's happening or what is this? What? You know what I mean? It's for me, sometimes it's a work to answer what. So that's my explanation of shadow work. I know you're about to give me the best, but it really is.
Well, I would like to expand on the definition. I don't think it's me making the definition better or worse, right? But so yes, it is. I mean, it is kind of like a play on its own term, right? The shadow, like what's living in the shadows, what's hiding in the shadows, and a lot of times that's the unresolved traumas. That's identifying your triggers and where those triggers are coming from. It also tends to go into generational, what we call generational curses, identifying, okay, well, my mother experienced this. This is something that my mother does, and this is a habit that she has. How does that show up in me? And what does it look like? Do I need to repair or separate or move through things that may not necessarily be mine, but they're lurking in the shadows here with me, and they're causing me to have a difficult time adjusting and processing and adapting to regular everyday things, right? Because a lot of times that's what our trauma does. Our trauma sits with us in such a way that something as basic as just like going to the store can be difficult. It changes the way you move in spaces, the way the way you speak to people, the way you show up at your job, are you a procrastinator? Are you a this? Are you that? Do you get angry when someone asks you to explain yourself? Do you feel like you have to qualify everything about yourself? All these different things. Where do they come from? Where does it live in the shadows? Right. And people say that shadow work is very heavy and it's very hard. I mean, I went through the process intentionally of breaking down shadow work for almost 4 years. I mean, it was because you had to do just enough what you could handle, right? Because sometimes figuring out like, oh my gosh, that was me. That wasn't all of the people that I put it on, or it wasn't, or it came from here, or like, dang, whatever. The process for me was quite long, and it's ongoing. I'm not completely healed. I am a healing person, but I'm not completely healed, right? Yeah. So a lot of it is really just dissecting these things that are happening to you, these things that are living in you, these things that are existing with you, even though they're not sitting in the sunshine, right? Like for me, we all know I got a little bit of a fiery attitude. It is what it is, right? Like I could
A little bit.
a little bit, a little bit. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? You either go, there's no middle ground. It's you either love me or you don't fuck with me. Like there's the one of the two. Fortunately, more people love me than I tell people all the time. I have 4 enemies. 2 of them I earned. One of them owes me an on-site. She can't whip my ass, but if she came at me, it would be it'd be a good go. The other 2, they tried it. You know what I'm saying? But even in those situations like where I have lost friends. We may not be beefing, we may not be enemies, but I have lost friends because of things that I hadn't identified yet. I hadn't gone through that process of my shadow work. I hadn't pulled that out of the recesses, that it was actually a thing. They had said something to me or they had done something to me that I had watched maybe my mother or somebody had told me that this person had gone through, or I had told myself I would never experience this, and the third. So that's what it is. It's taking the time to really dissect who you are. Mm-hmm. And how you respond to things. Like, are you a reactionary person, right? Stuff like simple things like that, right? When are you, like, for instance, people talk about your love languages, and everybody's talking about like your astrological signs and how they show up and all this other stuff. I believe a lot of that, like I follow astrology. I'm into the whole, I'm an Aquarius with a Leo rising and a Leo moon and a Libra rising. I'm into all of that. But I also recognize that the way I show up sometimes, I'll tell you something funny. So before my grandmother passed away in May, the end of May, and she had made a joke one time about how comparing me to my other grandmother, my father's mother, who had passed long before I was born. She passed before my father even graduated high school. Mm-hmm. And the joke was like, dying as like with a broken heart, mm-hmm. right? It was not funny. A lot of her jokes were not funny, right? They were funny to her, right? But a lot of her jokes were not funny. And I remembered, and I remember the joke being told, but I did not identify how it processed in me, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. And so I had gone a really long time, like just like kind of haphazardly dating, mm-hmm. For the sake of not being put in a situation where my heart would be broken. Yeah. Because in the back of my mind, I was told it's on me that I would be, I would die with a broken heart, mm-hmm. or die from a broken heart. Because and I was like, and when I actually had that conversation with my therapist, go to therapy. When I had that conversation with my therapist, I was like, oh my God, like, I wasn't intentionally saying what I needed and what I wanted. Mm-hmm. I wasn't asking people to be kind to me or meet me where I was. Mm-hmm. I wasn't requiring loyalties, different things. I did not have the toolkit, mm-hmm. to be in a healthy relationship, because this whole time I was telling myself I'm not going to even play that game. Yeah, that's part of the shadow work. When that mm-hmm. came out, I had to process that hard. You know what I mean? That meant no relationship. You know what I'm saying? You feel where I'm coming from,
I know. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like
I do have like, I'm not dating, knowing damn well I want to date. But it's like, no, I have to date differently. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like I had to learn to date differently. I had to learn how I even show up and what I demand, and you know what I mean? And like, walk in my truth, what I want from dating. You know what I mean? Like that.
Woof. I'm so proud of you for going through this process.
Thank you.
All right, I'm look, we have to take care of ourselves. That's to all of y'all. Quentin says, deep, allowing shadow to be found after repressing. How does one find them horns? Love them horns.
How to find what? Say that again, please.
How allowing shadow to be found after repressing. So basically, like, how do you, like, once you've pushed it down,
yeah,
now you're going through the process of like having to dig it back out. How do you do that? Mm-hmm. I don't personally think there is a method.
I can only share my experience because I've had to do it. So I'll talk a little bit about my therapy and shadow work experience. I learned that I had so much repressed, and it may be answering the question of why I don't like to talk so much, because it's all just deep down in there. So with my therapist, she was asking me, one question she asked me, she said, what was your earliest memory of like your dreams for your life? And I'm like, and I really sat there for a second, like,
do I?
What were dreams? And I was like, I don't know. And I literally said, I have no clue. I don't remember. And then it went back to my earliest memory was like, I was in high school. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm pretty sure I was thinking about things way before high school. You know what I mean? Like, and I literally cannot recall. So,
but you didn't have to put it on paper till high school. I think that, right?
Well, no, do you know, like, just like, what did you want to be when you grow up and et cetera? Like those.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Like, maybe that's why. I'm trying to make it make sense because I don't know when mine came through either, girl. I'm just trying to.
Well, okay, but true. Like, you probably didn't have to talk about it until high school too. But at the same, her asking me that question made me realize there were so many memories that I just were not there. And it wasn't until we started digging and, gentle push and the inquiry of what once you start to unpack, some of that repressed stuff comes up. Some of it may be staying repressed to keep you safe. You know what I mean? To keep you just, what you don't need to deal with this. Or this is not the time. You know what I mean? We have our entire lives to unpack. And, like how you said earlier, Maryam, like, it's continual. It's been 4 years, but it's not over. So unpacking shit. You know what I mean? Don't think you have to unpack all those repressed memories as you do your shadow work all in the same day.
And I would suggest if you're a spiritual person and if you are moving, because I have a girl, I mean, it almost took her out. She was trying to do too much at one time. She was trying to ask herself all these hard questions, and she was calling her mama and asking her aunties these questions, and she was doing this. She was doing so much that it was so much information being downloaded at one time. She, her spirit wasn't strong enough to deal with all of that. This girl almost took herself out. Literally, almost took herself out. I would say take your time. Take your time. As far as like loving the horns, baby. I don't love them.
So I can't love the horns. What does that mean? Is it like
when you find it, when you pull it up? I'm assuming this is what it means. Quentin, tell me if I'm going the wrong way. But I'm assuming it means like when you're pulling that stuff out, the I guess you would call them the horns. He's calling them the horns. Like the bad work. I've not embraced anything that was lurking in the shadows and causing me harm.
I will say I've embraced what it taught me. You know what I mean? What I learned from whatever I had, because I went with, it depends on what you're going for. Like I went with question as why am I this way? Why am I like this? Whatever. And
our approaches were different.
Say it again. I
said our approaches were different.
Yeah. And that's going to be different from every individual. So it does depend on your intention and your purpose, but you learn some things. You really do learn. So I don't want people to go into therapy or healing journeys and think that, have a vision for your outcome, have some goals, but work with your professional that you're with, help them guide you. That's their purpose. Help guide you to answering and uncovering and untapping. And, healing, something might come up that you need to actively heal. You know what I mean? Like you may have to do some additional work. When I first started going to my yoga session, therapy, before I even had my first therapy session, I was like, I need an instant Reiki session, please, right now. I really need it. You need more things than just therapy usually. Yeah.
Or you need different types. Like I have a spiritual coach. And then I have my actual therapist. And then I just have mentors and elders that I trust with my, with me, And for me, it was more about, I wanted to make sure I was raising a healthy child.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that there were parts of me that were not healthy for whatever reason. And I didn't want them to impact who I was, the person I was about to set out into the world. Because, you know, they quick to be like, who raised you? Me.
All day.
I did it. It was me. So, you know, I wanted to make sure that when I said me, that I was proud of it. And that took a lot of work. But we got to play a game. We're running out of time.
Oh, yeah?
But, you know, I like to play. I still don't have music. All right, here we go. Game time. Game time. What, my mom? Mom, what you mean? No, you didn't.
No, you didn't make the music.
I'm not talking about you. Don't get offended. I'm talking about me. I just want to make sure we're clear. What is your definition of being wealthy and why?
Oh, my definition of being wealthy and why. My definition of being wealthy and why. This is a fun game. I was excited. Do I like to eat? You know what I mean? Like, when I'm watching on Netflix. You know, I'm struggling with that answer for myself. You know what I mean? Because I have to break down some decolonized thinking of what wealthy means.
Yeah.
And I think I'm in the process of that, being someone who has like student loan debt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I don't think it's just a financial thing. But I honestly don't have an honest answer to give you. It is something I want to journal about, though.
I'll take that.
Yeah, I totally want to journal about that.
I don't know is a very reasonable response to any question if the answer is I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. All right. How I'm not gonna, because I know you're gonna no. Hold on. I was about to ask you another question, and you were gonna be like, who's the funniest person you know?
Nobody.
Josiah right now. That was on point. That was so on point. Josiah is the funniest person I know right now.
Yo.
Oh my gosh.
He stay with it. He stay with it.
Oh.
Yo, I'm telling you, the other day I was asking him something. I was like, well, you know, because you have a hard time sometimes liking, and he was like, what, people? No. Josiah, if the people want to meet you, can you come say hey real quick?
Josiah, come say hi to my cousin, Nastasia, who is the funniest person that I know. One of many. She is the funniest person. We have our own language. We are the funniest people we know. Hey, Josiah.
This is Josiah. He is also the funniest person I know. Okay, thank you.
Bye.
See ya. Love your locks.
I know. They're so long. Auntie Lindsay says hi.
Hi. I said hi back.
Okay. That's what I'm saying.
You raised them.
That's what I'm saying. I know, right? And right?
You did.
Remember what I said about my attitude? I've been working on it. But I feel like the more I work on my attitude, the harder his gets. Like I'm just passing it around. What can you do today that you were not capable of a year ago?
No.
I went to the beach this morning. Let me tell y'all about my day. That's the best way to answer this question, because a year ago I was working. I went to the
You said a year ago I was working.
I was working for some funky school district. And I can honestly say I was able to get up this morning and go to the beach and like left my phones and like just really tuned out and started my morning there. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful that I can start my days slower, which is something that I really wanted. I'm not a morning up and be ready to start moving.
Yeah.
So
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
His birthday, Nastasia is asking me his birthday. His birthday is April 30th. So that's why you say HBC 430. My company, 430 is his birthday. It's also my angel number. It means the efforts you put into everything you do will bring about abundance and keep you righteous, essentially. So that makes perfect sense for that young buck. All right. This is called the one word, and my mother. My mom is having a field day in these comments, girl. The next game, because I'm not going to ask you the rest of these questions. The rest of these questions, I'm going to just send them to you so you can journal about them. All right. One word sentence. So I say a word, you say a word, I say a word. Remember that game? And we're going to try to tell a story in this like sentence, whatever, right? Do you understand the rules? Margaritas. Do you understand the rules?
I get it.
All right, so here we go. I'm going to start. Yesterday,
I
went
back
down
to
the
valley,
and
I
danced
like
the
river
was
carrying
my
soul
to
higher
ground. Ooh!
Now let me say this. I don't know if a valley and a river.
You said valley, right?
Yeah, and then I added a river, and I don't know.
But I feel like there's valleys and rivers.
They're all together. Okay, cool. Okay, all right. That's all I'm gonna just preface and say, like, I too was educated in the public education system.
Stop. Don't do that. Matter of fact, I want to say most valleys have rivers, just to affirm you in this.
I've never been to a valley, so I'm like, I really don't know.
Look, they said our sentence was good, and I would say we're gonna do another one, but I'm gonna leave on a high note.
Yeah.
All right. All right. So tell us, for those who are not already following you, who don't already know how to get in touch with you, where they can find you, when your classes are, what the rules of engagement are for you.
All the things are okay. So I have an Instagram and a Facebook.
Not Philly public schools. Sorry, Nastasia giving you a hard time. Go ahead.
I am Indefinitely Dee Wellness on Instagram and Indefinitely Dee on Facebook. If you would like to book any of my services, there's a Linktree/Indefinitely Dee Wellness. I believe that's what it is now. Which I'm gonna type these into the chat.
Instagram is at Indefinitely Dee
Wellness.
I'm over here typing, not in nobody's chat. Okay.
Okay.
I'm listening. Keep going.
Yeah, Facebook is Indefinitely Dee. Linktree to book any of my services. Linktree/Indefinitely Dee Wellness. Or you can find the link in any of my bios. That's the best way to contact me. Sending DMs is not the best way to book services because I may not be on Instagram. Right now, my posts are automated, so I may not even be responding. I do have virtual yoga classes. I have more private ones than group ones at this point. And all of my wellness services. There's a budding wellness center here for you in Playa del Carmen, Mexico, if you're ever here.
So you said the Linktree was Indefinitely Dee or Indefinitely Dee Wellness?
I believe it's Indefinitely Dee Wellness, but maybe I need to check that for you and get back to you.
Well, when I do the wrap up tomorrow, I'll make sure I have all the correct ones.
Cool, thank you. And that's pretty much it. I'm here for anything. If you need to just talk about ways to go and consult, that's an option. I'm one of those people that if you need something, I can help you get to it. So even if I don't have the answer for you, or if I cannot provide the exact service for you, I totally can help you get to the right place. So a huge resource, and that's pretty much it.
And Lost Like a Local is her travel page.
Yes.
She's taking consultations and new clients for people who are interested in what expat life is like, figuring out their global journey. I don't know why she ain't say that, so I'm gonna say it for her.
No, and it's too much because curriculum. You just reminded me of curriculum.
Yes.
Like, go buy some T-shirts from my education business curriculum.
Right? Yeah. It's spelled phonetically, so I'm gonna have her type that in the comments a little bit later. She said, Nastasia said, and your TikTok. You on TikTok?
I'm on TikTok. There's a Lost Like a Local TikTok. I'm like, I don't know. I don't have the capacity, but I do that.
I enjoy watching TikToks.
It's a lot. It's a
I
lot.
haven't figured out how to. I'm not that millennial.
I'm not either.
I'm at the top of the millennial thing. Like I'm part of that group that like it's like kind of low key saying we ain't millennials, but we are. You know what I mean? Like I'm born in '82, right when they started. Mm-hmm. So TikTok has me stressed out.
No, all of social media has me stressed out. Y'all have about 1 to 2 more years of me on social media, and then please sign up for my newsletters. That's all I can say, because that's where most of the information is that I want to share is on my newsletters. So
I will always have a social media presence, but I'm very specific about which one. So I will always have an Instagram, I will always have a LinkedIn, and I'll always have a Facebook. The rest of that stuff y'all can, take to the river. And the reason is because my returns and my conversion rates are very high. Mm-hmm. So, free game for anyone in business. If you can get your conversions up on any of those platforms, keep it. But if it's causing you to do a whole lot of work and you're not turning it into money, then what's the point? Unless you just like to be on social media, which that could be your life. I don't know. It's not mine. I don't enjoy it just to enjoy it. I need to know that when I post things, I'm going to get an inbox saying, can I book a consultation?
Absolutely. And that brings me to one last thing. I'll be starting a Patreon so everyone can help me out and sustain me so I can continue to share and grow and learn and help and serve.
Now, what will be your Patreon? Like what are you offering through Patreon?
I'm still working through that, to be honest, because I'm like, okay, I want to offer, videos and Q&As and etc. My newsletter will be a part of it. But I'm like, I don't like being on camera. So like, I was excited for this because I'm like, I would love to be on camera. So I have to practice. So I'm excited for today in our interview. And
because I love to be on camera, child. Put me on the camera. No. It's having me in large group settings. I can't. I can be on stage. I can't be in the crowd. Does that make sense? It's not. Would you stop telling me what I can do back there? He's so extra worrisome. And now that y'all called him and let him be on the camera and everything, he gonna keep on talking. But shout out to my baby boy for doing the best he could with this quiet time in this very small space for today. Shout out to Dee, Indefinitely Dee Wellness, and Lost Like a Local, for being here and sharing her journey and giving us some insight into, the love of it all, right? It's icky outside, y'all. The world is heavy. Hurricane Ida has kicked ass up and down the East Coast and the Southeast. Keep praying for your folks. If you are a part of a mutual aid network, please know that mutual aid means aiding each other mutually. That means you give as much as you take. So continue to support each other, build community around each other, and love on each other. Next week, we will be sitting with Lauren Turner of No Dreams Deferred Theater here in New Orleans. But thank you. It has been another Tribe Talking on a Tuesday with Maryam, and I'm about to push this little button that says end broadcast. I love y'all. Peace. All right. My going out music. Da, 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 da.